I want to discuss what you guys' thoughts are on the hardest positions for rookies to come in the NFL. Because my theory is that I'll just give you my rankings here.
This is an order here of difficulty.
Oh, this is order of difficulty? I didn't know. I just just put it down and wanted us to rank.
Okay. So I have quarterback is one. I don't think any surprise there. But then I go linebacker, DT, OT, safety, interior offensive line, tight end, defensive end, and then cornerback, wide receiver, running back being the easiest. And I think we see it every single year in terms of at least wide receiver, running back. They're like, yeah, you're farther away from the ball. You're an athlete. Those tend to translate early. But to me, quarterback, linebacker are, to give an explanation here, such of the cerebral positions that you just have to have a knowledge base.
Responsibility.
You have to see so many different things before you can play at the speed that's required to play at the NFL level. So those guys come in, and more often than not, rookie linebackers are just like, they're lost out there.
Swimming.
You are just trying to keep your head above water. Why I put DT3 is the sheer physicality aspect.
Facts.
You don't get double teams in college that are anything close to what you're getting in the NFL. When you have, you don't line up unless you played maybe against Georgia or Alabama against 330 pounders.
Or Notre Dame.
That are explosive enough to really test you. But even then, it's like a 21-year-old double teaming you versus a 27 and a 30-year-old is just going to hit very differently. Sure. So that's why I put DT there, just because the level of physicality is so different. Offensive tackle, I think fairly self-explanatory, just dealing with a guy that runs a 4.5.
The best athletes on the planet are trying to kill your friend, and you're in between them. That's the tackle position.
And so then they're on down the line. I think it's fairly self-explanatory, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts as to what ones maybe I underrated in terms of difference.
You want to go first?
Overrated.
I'll go first. Obviously, quarterback, I think, is self-explanatory. Yeah. I was surprised you didn't have corner higher.
Okay.
I have it at number 2 because it's reactionary. Just imagine, you just talked about as an offensive lineman, knowing the snap count, knowing where you're going. Just imagine with the receivers in this NFL right now. Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, and then you have to be reactionary to what they're doing, right? So to me, playing corner is the second hardest position in football, just because a lot of times, especially those top corners there on the island, there's so much space. Slot corners don't get enough respect in the NFL at all because there's literally so much space.
They cross the formation.
You got guys like Cooper Kupp with angle routes, option routes. You don't know where he's breaking, and you got to be in this hip pocket to get off the field on third down. So I think, to me, corner is the second hardest position in football, 100%, because it's so reactionary. I'm with you on offensive tackle. I have them as number 3. Kyle talked about how defensive linemen are athletes in regards to, we were just talking about TJ Watt. Imagine blocking that guy for 60 snaps a game, 30 of those being passes. And he knows that it's passed.
And it's on TV.
Exactly.
And your mama's watching.
So that, to me, that's the third hardest. I'm with you at linebacker. I think you have to preface it, though, by saying linebacker is such a vague position, right? Because there's outside linebackers inside.
Yeah, I think
you're Mike. Right? So that's why I put it as high as I did.
The green dot.
Yeah, it's really hard for rookies to come in and have that green dot from the first year. Guys like Roquan Smith are special. There's not a lot of those guys out there. A lot of times you'll see guys build up to that, right? They won't give them that responsibility their rookie year. There's so much in regards to what you have to do, knowing what the D-line has to do, knowing what the secondary has to do, lining up everybody, having all the checks. So I agree with Mike having that high. And then I went safety because I think in regards to the responsibility in positionless football, safeties have to be able to cover tight ends. They have to be able to be in the box and stop the run. And they need to know the checks for the secondary as well. So I think safety's an underrated spot. So me and Mike had that both at 5. Tight end, just because of the versatility of it, was 6 for me. Blocking.
It's basically you're also an offensive lineman and a receiver.
So the responsibility you have alone was that. I think I went 7 D tackle because of what Mike talked about. The double teams are a lot different in the NFL than they are in college. Interior offensive lineman gave Kyle some love at 8.
Hey, thank you.
Not I went DN. 10 running back, 11 receiver. We've seen an influx of receivers come in ready from day one.
Yep.
That's the one position, because guys are going to 7-on-7 camps at 7 now, right? So that's the one position guys are coming in ready.
They know everything.
Exactly. They're coming in ready.
Well, that's the one thing I'd push back on corner being too. I do think corner is probably one of the hardest positions in the NFL if we're just talking about it whole. But in terms of getting ready to play in the NFL, you can have live reps on a field 2 blocks away from us here in South Florida against an NFL wide receiver all offseason that are like directly translatable to what you're going to do in the league, right? You can't really, as a D lineman, as a DT, you can't have a live double team rep to hold up against. It just, you don't get the same level of on the job training in the offseason as you do at the cornerback position, where you can kind of get one-on-one reps against elite guys. And you probably have been for a while, depending on what school you played at.
I think it's obvious the quarterback's number one here on the hardest position for rookies to play. And not only, this is the hardest positions for rookies to play, but I'm talking about existing in the NFL.
Correct.
As a quarterback is really hard. And I think about guys like Caleb Williams and Bryce Young. We talked about these guys. So much expectations, particularly if you're a rookie playing quarterback in the NFL, you were probably a high draft pick.
Yep,
so
sure.
I'm going to add that into the equation. Obviously, you talked about linebacker and you talked about cornerback. I'm going to lump all these guys. So quarterback is like the tier 1 difficulty, tier 2 difficulty, linebacker, tackle, safety, and corner, I think is right there at tier 2. And then right below there, I got the interior offensive line and all the rest of them. And the reason I threw the tight end in there is because, to your point, there's so much stuff, run and pass, you have to be responsible for. Like when I get the play call, I hear, 3 jet scat, Louisiana, Y Reno, Z basic, X Detroit, or whatever it is. I listen to the first 2 words.
That's it. You're good.
And I'm like, okay, scat, let's go. That means we got no running back and protection. It's just us, guys. The receivers, the tight ends, they have to listen to protection, the checks. The tight ends have to know exactly who we're miking. Sometimes the cornerbacks don't even know the mic, or the receivers don't even know the mic. They're just out there running guys off. So for tight ends, it's a little bit of everything. You're an O lineman, but you're also a receiver. I've got them up there. And the rest of these, I really do agree with. I think the 2 bottom positions, receiver and running back, it's kind of like, do you got it or do you not have it? And when you come into the NFL, it's very obvious. Cornerback, so much space, acreage to cover. And for safety, the safeties you are that you pull up to some houses and it says protected by ADT, security system.
Correct.
You are the last line of defense for your team.
For sure.
And what you don't want is corners turning like this. Where's my safety?
I thought you were in the middle of the field. What's going on?
You want the 5-star Yelp review safety back there. So there's a lot of pressure for these safeties to be good. And I remember guys like Eddie Jackson, who came in from Alabama. He told us in training camp, our Alabama team could beat you guys. And he looked at me dead in my eyes and said, and I was like, first off, you're crazy. I'll slap them all in the face. Second off, this guy's really confident. I think he might be right. He comes out, he has like an Ed Reed type season.
He does.
It is really impressive when a safety can play out of the box like that.
100%. And it's also like, same with linebacker, you need the pictures. You need to have seen enough route concepts that you just will not see in college. So you need those pictures in your head.